colleagues, community, and thank you for tuning in. And welcome to another HES Academies Family Engagement Live broadcast. And welcome Omnia with us in this broadcast again.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure. It's nice to be here with a new topic with you guys. Today, we're bringing a topic that's really specific to all the parents and teachers and caregivers who really take a lot of time and spend a lot of time with youth. Today, we're going to be talking about what's really behind the vapor and what you need to know about e-cigarettes. So, go ahead.
Before you jump in, Omnia, I just want to let the parents know that we're going to have a presentation about vaping prevention, both in Arabic and English. الوقاية من التدخين الإلكتروني. It is a phenomenon that has been spreading among teenagers. It's very important for you and for our children to be educated about the harms and dangers of vaping. After that, I'll have a few announcements for you, and also for those of you who are participating. First chess tournament, first virtual chess tournament at all the HES Academies. I'm going to be walking you through how to log into the tournament because it will start at 4 p.m. by the end of this program. So Omnia is a substance abuse prevention specialist and program coordinator at LAHC. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in biology from Oakland University and a Master's of Science in Health Service and in Health Science with a public health concentration from Touro University worldwide. After exploring different aspects of healthcare and education, Omnia landed this position, allowing her to influence the health of the community through prevention. Once a refugee, Omnia has taken her past experiences on bilingual skills and applied them, understanding and improving the lives of people in the diverse local community. She is a familiar face in many high school classrooms as she facilitates the life skills program and also familiar with parents through different parenting engagement sessions. Welcome again, Omnia, and we are excited to listen to your presentation.
Thank you so much, and I'm very excited as well. Thank you for the beautiful presentation, and we look forward to being back here again. So, like I mentioned, we're really going to be focusing on a topic that has to do a lot with the youth. Vaping devices, what they are, what they look like, and kind of what signs and symptoms to pay attention to, especially if you have youth in the home. So أهلا وسهلا فيكم كلياتكم. مثل ما قلنا اليوم رح نعمل presentation بالعربي بالإنجليزي. البرزنتيشن تبع اليوم نحن رح نحكي عن السجائر الإلكترونية وشو الموجود بقلبهم وشو ممكن يسببوا خصوصا عند الشباب والمراهقين. So to get started, let's kind of just talk about what electronic cigarettes are, what do we mean by them, and what do they look like. So they come in a lot of different shapes and sizes. They kind of fit into 3 different categories. So we have our tings and mats, and these are the bigger and more original types of electronic cigarettes. Then we have our rechargeable ones. These are a little bit more sleek. They're more disguisable, and they're a little bit more youth friendly, I guess, or that's what they target. They target the youth. And then we also have our disposable e-cigarettes. These are just a one-time use, no lighter needed. And for all of these, they don't come with any type of ash or anything like that. So these products are, products that heat up an aerosol or a liquid, and it creates vapor and smoke. It is very similar to your regular cigarette. You're just not using a lighter, you're charging it instead. And it's actually very dangerous, especially for the youth. It contains a lot of nicotine and a lot of different flavorings and chemicals inside all of these fluids. And there is a misconception here where people think that it might not be addicting or as addicting as regular cigarettes. Unfortunately, this is one of the myths that we're going to shatter today. It's actually very addictive. So right here, this Juul pod, probably the most popular type of e-cigarette. One small pod contains as much nicotine as a whole pack of cigarettes, and youth go through these pods very quickly. So 2 to 3 days to finish a pod. So that's 2 to 3 days of smoking a whole pack of cigarette for a youth. So this can be very dangerous, and we'll look at a few different signs and symptoms, and also health effects that can be caused from using such devices. So خلينا نبدأ اليوم بحكينا عن السجائر الإلكترونية ونحكي عن شو هنن ومن شو بيتكونوا. هن بيجوا بأنواع وألوان مختلفة. في التانكس والمادز وهدول الأجهزة اللي شوي بتكون أكبر، ونحن لما بنشوفهم بنعرف إنه هاي سيجارة إلكترونية. وفي أنواع تانية اللي بتنشحن أكتر من مرة، وكمان حجمها بيكون شوي أصغر وألوانها مختلفة. وعندنا الديسبوزبلز اللي هن في الناس بيستخدموها مرة واحدة وبيكبوها. كل هدول الأنواع الأجهزة ما لازم لهم قداحة، وكمان ما بيطلع منهم الرماد. لهالشي الشباب كتير بيحبوهم لأنه فيهم يخبوهم من أهلهم أو من المدرسة بطريقة أسهل. بس هن كتير مضرين للصحة مثل السجاير العادية إذا ما أكثر. كل هدول الأنواع المختلفة فيهم نيكوتين ومنكهات، وكمان كيميائيات مختلفة ممكن تضر بالصحة، وكمان ممكن تسبب بالإدمان مثل السجاير العادية. نحن سمعانين بكلمة جول، أو هي نوع من أنواع السجاير الإلكترونية. هذا النوع كتير محبوب من الأولاد أو الشباب لأنه هو ممكن يخبوه بطريقة كتير سهلة. هدول الجولز فيهم كمية كتيرة من النيكوتين، وهالكمية بتعادل علبة كاملة من السجاير. الشباب usually بيخلصوا هالجول يومين أو 3 أيام، فهنا عم بيخلصوا علبة كاملة من السجاير بهالمدة القصيرة. هالشي ممكن كتير يضر لصحتهم. Let's take a look at how do they work. Now we know what they are. They're electronic. Youth really seem to love them, and it's becoming a growing problem. But how do they work? All of these different types of electronic cigarettes come with a vaping liquid. And this liquid, like we said, has nicotine and a lot of other chemicals, which we'll touch on in a little bit. Once someone lights up or turns on the cigarette, it's going to heat up the liquid, and this liquid is going to create a gas. The person who's using this electronic cigarette will inhale the gas. It'll go to their lungs and also to their bloodstream, and then they'll exhale the rest, and this is what we see, this is the vapor and the smoke that we see and can smell. كيف تشتغل هالسجاير؟ هالسجاير كلياتهم بأنواعهم المختلفة في بقلبهم سائل، وهذا السائل فيه النيكوتين وفيه الكيميائيات الثانية اللي رح نحكي عنهم. فبس واحد يشعل أو يعلق هالسيجارة رح تسخن السائل الموجود بقلبها، وبعدين رح تعمل هباء جوي. اللي عم بيستخدم هالسيجارة رح يستنشق هالهباء الجوي، ورح يصير بالرئة، وكمان رح يروح على المجرى الدموي، وبعدين بيطلع الباقي، وهذا هو الدخان اللي نحن بنشوفه كمان ممكن نشمه. What chemicals are actually in there? Let's go ahead and shatter another myth. When these vaping devices first came out, everyone was like, oh, it's just water vapor, it's healthy or healthier than regular cigarettes. It's actually not true. There's a lot more than just water vapor. There's huge amounts of nicotine, there's formaldehydes, there's glycerin, which is usually a chemical that's used in beauty products, and there's no research that says it's clean and good for us to inhale. There's ultrafine particles that really can get stuck in our bloodstream. There's also different metals like chromium, lead, nickel, tin. All of these things can be found in all of these electronic cigarettes and in their liquid. Now, someone might say, well, I've also heard that they come with vitamins. Some of them do. Some of them come with a specific vitamin, vitamin E. But unfortunately, that doesn't make it any safer or better. It actually makes it even more dangerous. Vitamin E, if it comes in a liquid form and it's heated up and inhaled, it can be very toxic. This chemical is just, or this vitamin is just not meant for us to be inhaling it this way. So it can be very dangerous and very toxic. So even if there are claims of certain vitamins, they're not necessarily healthy in this situation. شو في بقلب هالسوائل الموجودة بقلب هالسجاير الإلكترونية؟ أول ما طلعوا هالسجاير كتير من الناس كانوا عم بيقولوا إنه ما في نيكوتين، وهي بس بخار أو بس بتطلع بخار وفيه طعم وريحة. هالشي منه صحيح. هدول الليكويدز أو السوائل الموجودة بقلب هالسجاير فيها كمية كبيرة من النيكوتين، فيها مواد مختلفة مثل الفورمالدهايد، فيها جسميات كتير دقيقة ممكن تضل بالرئة أو بالمجرى الدموي، فيها أشياء ممكن تسبب بالسرطان، وكمان فيها النيكل أو القصدير أو أي مواد تانية ممكن تأثر بجسمنا. هلا كمان أول ما طلعت كان في ناس عم بتقول إنه في فيتامينز أو فيتامينات بقلب هالسوائل، لو كان في فيتامينات، دايما نحن بنشوف الفيتامين إي موجود بهدول السوائل، بس هذا منه منيح لصحتنا. إذا واحد استخدم فيتامين إي أو استخدمه بهالطريقة، إذا هو كان سائل واستنشق هالفيتامين، هذا الشيء ممكن كتير يكون سام ومنه منيح لصحتنا. So let's go ahead and take a look at what a vape looks like. I know in the beginning I showed you a few pictures of what they look like and kind of the categories, but let's go ahead and look at a few samples. And unfortunately, our companies that come up with these vapes have become very creative. So خلينا نشوف أو نطلع على نوع من أنواع السجاير. So البزنسز أو المصانع عم يطلعوا أنواع مختلفة كل يوم. So here I have a pen. This is the same size of a regular pen, and I can show you here. It writes just like one. So هلا أنا عندي قلم حجمه مثل القلم، بيكتب مثل القلم، عم بكتب فيه هون. It's a pen. So it's actually a little bit more than a pen. This is a electronic cigarette. So if I was to take out the cap right here, this is actually the mouthpiece of an electronic cigarette, specifically that comes in this pen. And anybody that has this can smoke it if they can fill it up with liquid and use it as an electronic cigarette. So هالقلم إذا بشيل هاي القطعة من هون طالع السيجارة الإلكترونية الموجودة بقلب هالقلم، وأي واحد فيه يستخدمه. So now you're gonna ask me, well, am I gonna go around and check every single pen I have in the house to make sure that it's not an electronic cigarette? No, just be cautious. So if we're paying attention to this pen, it's slightly bigger than a regular pen. And if you guys were holding it, it would be a little bit heavier. And you'd also be probably seeing it being charged around the house. So pens are usually not meant to be charged, or at least we don't have that technology yet. But if you are seeing a pen that's being charged, then maybe you should take a look at it. So هلا رح تسألوني كيف بعرف إنه هالقلم فيه سيجارة. رح روح طلع على كل الأقلام الموجودة عندي بالبيت وأتأكد منهم. إنه إذا نحن مسكنا هالقلم بإيدنا وأنتم مسكتوه رح تحسوا إنه هو أتقل وكمان شوي أكبر من الأقلام العادية. وهالقلم لأنه هو سيجارة ممكن تشوفوه عم ينشحن أو مربوط على الكهرباء. ونحن الأقلام الموجودة عندنا هلا منا بهالتكنولوجي، ما لازم نشحنهم. فإذا عم تشوفوا هالشي بالبيت بس انتبهوا وتأكدوا إنه هي منا سيجارة إلكترونية. So I have a few other examples that I will show you, but let's take a deeper look at the effects of these vapes and electronic cigarettes that they have on our body, and especially the youth. And I'll go ahead and show you a few more examples. So أنا عندي أكثر من مثل لفرجيكم إياه، بس رح فرجيكم بالأخير. بس خلينا نحكي عن الأشياء اللي ممكن يسببها هالسجاير لجسمنا وخصوصا للشباب أو المراهقين. So the biggest effect that it can have on our youth is effects that it can have on the brain. So like we mentioned before, it has a lot of nicotine, and nicotine can be very, very addictive, especially when youth are using it. Now, since this is an addictive substance, it can also lead to use of other addictive substances as well and other drugs. Now, we're still talking about the youth. So when I'm talking about the youth, I'm going to stretch it a little bit. So we have our middle schoolers, our high schoolers, and let's stretch it to individuals who are 25 years or younger. Our brain develops until we are 25. After that, the development slows down a lot. So if someone is exposed to nicotine at that young age of 25 or under, this can be really hurting their brain, specifically the parts that have to do with control, attention, learning, mood, and impulse control. This impulse control is the part of the brain that really focuses on, risk-taking behavior. It stops someone from using addictive substances and just really controls their risk-taking behavior here. And we'll take a deeper look at what other effects it can do to the brain, especially for those who are 25 and younger. So هالسجاير الإلكترونية منا منيحة للصحة مهما كان عمرنا، بس للناس اللي هن بالمدرسة المتوسطة الإعدادية أو للي عمرهم 25 سنة أو أقل، استخدام النيكوتين ممكن يأثر كتير على دماغهم، خصوصا الأماكن بالدماغ اللي هي بتتحكم بالاهتمام، بالتعليم، بالمزاج، وكمان بالسيطرة على الاندفاع. رح نحكي على هالشيء بطريقة أكثر. هلا نحن كمان لازم نعرف إنه النيكوتين هو اللي بيسبب الإدمان، وبس واحد استخدم نيكوتين أو أي شيء مدمن ممكن يستخدم مواد تانية ممكن تسبب الإدمان مثل غير الدروجز أو حتى الألكحول. So let's go back to our brain. So decision making, impulse control is going to be affected, and it's not only going to be affected while we're using this substance or while our youth are using these electronic cigarettes, actually can stay forever. So once that impulse control has been affected by nicotine, we unfortunately cannot reverse that or fix it. So forever, our teens are really going to have lower control when it comes to impulses and risk taking. Again, this is very, very addictive and can lead to other use of other addictive substances. It also can cause mood disorders like bipolar or any other mental health illnesses. And it can harm parts of the brain that have to do with attention and learning. So again, this is especially for those who are 25 years or younger. So think about all of those who are in high school and in college and how this can really affect their learning and development. So خلينا نرجع على الدماغ. So مثل ما قلنا هذا استخدام النيكوتين ممكن يأثر على الاندفاع، وخصوصا هذا الجزء اللي بالبرين اللي بيأكد على الاندفاع أو ممكن يبطل الناس من إنها هي تندفع. هذا التأثير بيضل للعمر كلياته. So بس واحد استخدم النيكوتين وهالجزء من الدماغ تأثر، ما فينا نصحح هالشيء ولا نغيره. كمان ممكن النيكوتين يأثر على الاضطرابات العقلية أو المزاجية. So ممكن يصير عندهم أمراض صحية وعقلية بسبب استخدام هالنيكوتين وهالكيميائيات الموجودة بقلب السجاير. الإدمان كمان شيء كتير ممكن يصير وبيصير بسرعة. وكمان اللي عم بيستخدم هالسجاير ممكن يصير عنده تركيز أقل، وكمان ممكن يصير عنده اضطرابات بالتعليم. ونحن خصوصا هلا عم نحكي عن الناس اللي عمرهم 25 سنة وأقل، وبهذا العمر الناس اللي بتروحوا على الكوليج وبيتعلموا وبيدرسوا أكثر من غير عمر. So من الأفضل إنه نخليهم يبتعدوا عن هالأجهزة المختلفة. So in addition to the biggest factor of our brain, there are a few other effects that it can have on a person who's using it. And these effects, we can see them very, very quickly, as quick as, 2 to 3 days. It can take a week, maybe a month, but we can see these effects very, very quickly. And those include things like cough, dry mouth, sore throat, shortness of breath, headaches, seizures are also possible, dizziness, dry eye, or even nausea. Again, all of these things could happen very quickly. Could take, as little as a week for people to start seeing these things. And these things are also more likely to go away once someone stops using these substances. So في أضرار تانية ممكن النيكوتين خصوصا هدول السجائر الإلكترونية ممكن يسببوا خصوصا عند الشباب. ومن هدول الأشياء ممكن يصيروا بوقت كتير قصير. So ممكن يصيروا بيومين، بأسبوع، أو حتى شهر. وكمان بنفس الوقت بس واحد بطل يستخدم هالسجاير هالأعراض ممكن تروح مع الوقت. So من هدول الأعراض في السعال، جفاف الدم، في التهاب الحلق، في ضيق بالنفس، الصداع، الصرع كمان ممكن يصير عند الناس اللي بيستخدموا هالسجاير، الدوخة، جفاف العين أو الغثيان. ممكن نشوف كل هدول الأشياء مع أي حدا عم بيستخدم هالسجاير. So the other ones that we've talked about are kind of common, and we can see them with any substances that are very bad for our health. But there are a few other dangers that we only see with these electronic cigarettes, and it's really important for us to really pay attention to. One of them is nicotine poisoning. This we don't see in regular cigarettes because regular cigarettes don't have that liquid component of nicotine or the liquid form of nicotine. If nicotine comes in a liquid, which is in all of these electronic cigarettes, it can be very, very dangerous. It can poison someone by simply getting into contact with their skin. And these liquids are handled in a bottle like this or something smaller, but it is very easy to spill, and this is very easy to get into contact with someone's skin and possibly cause poisoning. Other dangers include these devices exploding. Here I have a picture of a few that have exploded. Now these devices can explode literally anywhere. It could be charging and exploded. It can be in someone's hand, in their pockets, or even while they're smoking it and they can explode. This is because they're just made out of cheaper material and they're constantly being charged, and therefore can be very dangerous from that end. Now, these devices have also introduced us to a lot of new illnesses. So there is liquid in the lungs that we've been commonly seeing, especially in youth, popcorn lung, and we've even seen lung failure. Now, when I talk about lung failure, there's a specific example that many of you might be very familiar with. He's a 17-year-old male who's here from Michigan, who had both of his lungs fail because of using electronic cigarettes. He actually had to go through a double lung transplant. Speaking about it might seem like, oh yeah, he had surgery and he recovered. This actually was a very complicated surgery and he took a long time to recover. So غير الأشياء اللي حكينا عنها مثل الصداع أو الصرع أو حتى التأثير اللي هالسيجار ممكن تكون أو تأثر على الدماغ، في مخاطر تانية لازم نحكي عنها. أول واحد هو التسمم بالنيكوتين. هلا كل هالنيكوتين الموجود بهالسجائر الإلكترونية بيجي بنوع السائل. هو ممكن يجي بعلبة مثل هي أو ممكن تكون العلبة شوي أصغر. بهاي العلبة ممكن واحد يمسك النيكوتين بإيده أو بجلده بطريقة كتير سهلة، وهذا الشيء بيسبب التسمم. هالأجهزة كمان ممكن تنفجر، وهلأ هون عندي صورة بتفرجيكم السجائر المنفجرة. هلا هن ممكن ينفجروا لما يكونوا بجيبة الواحد بإيده أو لما عم تنشحن أو لما الواحد عم بيدخن هالسجاير. هالشي كتير خطر، وهالشي بيصير لأنه الأجهزة ممكن تكون كتير رخيصة ومنا معمولة بطريقة صحيحة. وكمان بس طلعوا هالسجائر الإلكترونية نحن عم نشوف أمراض مختلفة خصوصا عند الشباب وخصوصا بالرئة. في المي اللي عم بيصير بالرئة أو السائل اللي عم بيتكسر بالرئة عند الناس اللي عم بيستخدموا هالسجاير، وكمان في الفشل الرئوي. وهالشي شفناه بولد عمره 17 سنة من هون من ميشيغان اسمه دانيال، والرئتين اللي عنده فشلوا وعمل عملية لياخد رئتين جداد. هالعملية ما كانت سهلة وتأخر كتير ليتعافى ويتحسن منها. There are also a lot of other unknown dangers and a lot of other cases of individuals who have had liquid and popcorn lungs and a lot of other diseases that are very closely associated with the use of these devices. So why are youth using them and how much are they using them? So let's look at a data point. So in 2020, approximately 1 in every 5 high school students and 1 in every 20 middle school students are currently using e-cigarettes or were in 2020. This number is huge, but it actually used to be a little bit bigger. It used to be 4 in 5 high school students. This might be because we're all at home, going out is not as easy as before, but this number is still huge. 1 in 5 high school students is still a huge number. So let's take a look at one reason why this is the case. Here I have a chart that talks about the percentage of different flavors that are used and also categorizes them in the type of electronic cigarettes. So we have our disposables, we have the refillables, and we have the tanks and mods. And we also have them color-coded by color. So we have our fruit flavored cigarettes, we have the mint flavored, candy, menthol, and other ones. And none of these flavors actually include the cigarette flavor. And research shows that teens are actually not interested in the cigarette or regular tobacco flavor. They're really using the fruit flavor, the mint flavor. The candy one is also very popular among youth. This is again one way that youth can use these devices without anyone knowing. They're not going to smell like smoke. The room or the car or wherever they're smoking is not going to smell like it either, and they're less likely to get in trouble because, believe it or not, we simply don't know where that smell is coming from. So خلينا نشوف لأي درجة الشباب أو المراهقين عم بيستخدموا هالسجاير. So كل واحد من 5 طلاب بالمدرسة الثانوية وكل واحد من 20 طالب بالمدرسة المتوسطة بيستخدموا السجاير الإلكترونية. وهالأرقام أخذناها من سنة 2020. هلا هون كمان عندي صورة بتفرجينا سبب من الأسباب اللي بتخلي الشباب بهالعمر يستخدموا هالنوع من السجاير. وهالسبب إنه في أطعام كتير مختلفة تجي بهالسجاير. ونحن إذا عم نطلع على هاي الصورة ما بنشوف إنه أولاد بهالعمر بيحبوا طعم السجاير العادي أو التباكو العادي، بالعكس هن ما بيستخدموا هالنوع على أساس. الأطعام المختلفة الشباب اللي كتير بيحبوها هي الفواكه، النعناع، أو حتى الكاندي أو أي شيء حلو، وكمان المنثول. المنثول هو كتير مثل المنت أو النعناع. So if we're looking here at percentages، عنا أكثر من 60% من الناس بيستخدموا هالأطعام، خصوصا طعم الفواكه. So هذا واحد من الأسباب، وخلينا نشوف شو هي الأسباب الثانية اللي بتخلي الأولاد الصغار أو الشباب يستخدموا هالمواد الإلكترونية أو السجائر الإلكترونية. So why else other than the flavors, the cool smell? There's actually a few different reasons. One of them is advertisements. So these advertisements that come from these big companies are really targeting the youth. They're targeting them by using models who are, they look young, they use bright colors to attract the youth. So any youth who's looking at an ad like this will think, oh, he looks my age or she looks my age, and they're using this cool product, I should try it as well. There's also a lot of push on social media. A lot of influencers would advertise for devices like this, which again influences our youth to use them as well, and also think that these devices are made for them. So واحد من الأسباب اللي بتخلي الشباب يستخدموا هالسجائر الإلكترونية أكثر من غير عمر هي الدعايات الموجودة بكل مكان. So الشركات عم تعمل دعايات بتركز على الشباب بهذا العمر. هن بيستخدموا مودلز بهالعمر، بيستخدموا ألوان مختلفة، وكمان بيستخدموا المشاهير تبع السوشيال ميديا ليدعموا هالسجائر الإلكترونية. Other reasons include myths that we commonly see on ads. One of them is breathe easier with an e-cigarette. They're really pushing for e-cigarettes as a healthier option and allowing the users to breathe a little bit easier and better, which again is not true since these electronic cigarettes are full of toxins and chemicals and nicotine as well. Other ads could say things like simple, refreshing, and smoke-free. Again, here's another myth. It says smoke-free. They're really not smoke-free. They're full of toxins and chemicals like we mentioned before. So السبب الثاني هو إنه في دعايات خاطئة على هدول الدعايات. So في شركات بتقول إنه خلينا نساعدكم لتتنفسوا أسهل مع هدول السجائر الإلكترونية. هالشيء منه صحيح. اللي عم بيستخدم السجائر الإلكترونية عم بيضر بصحته وما رح يقدر يتنفس عادي أو أحسن من الناس التانيين. وكمان في دعايات بتقول إنه هالسجائر ما فيها دخان، وكمان مثل ما شفنا هذا الشيء منه صحيح. في كيميائيات كتيرة وفي دخان كتير بيطلع من هالسجائر. Another reason that I want to mention here is the availability of these devices. So these devices are very, very available. They're literally at every gas station, and they're very easy to access. Now you're going to tell me, well, there's a restriction on age. 18 years and older can buy these. That is true. That is if they're buying them in person. However, there are a lot of online sites that sell these devices, and they sell them without that much of an age restriction. So if I was to go online and try to purchase one, I would only see a little box that I can easily check that says I am 18 years or older. They don't really check IDs, and they don't have a very good way to make sure that whoever's purchasing these products is actually over 18. So that makes it a lot more accessible, especially for our youth. Now, our youth don't only buy it from stores and get it online, but they also get it from their friends' siblings. So there's a lot of interchange of these devices among youth. Another question that we're probably going to get is, what about the cost? Why is this so common? Isn't this expensive? Well, the cost is actually, pretty spread out. You can get an electronic cigarette for as cheap as $1 or as expensive as $100. And a lot of our youth are working youth or have allowances and can, easily spend, as little as $1 on an electronic cigarette. Yes, over time, this spending would become excessive because of the addiction. But for a youth, it's safe to say that this price is very manageable or doable for them. So في أسباب تانية بتخلي الأولاد أو الشباب يستخدموا هالسجاير، وأول واحد إنه هن ممكن كتير سهل ياخدوا أي واحدة من هدول السجاير. So الجاس ستيشنز والمحلات كتير بيبيعوا هالأجهزة المختلفة، بس هلا راح تقولوا إنه أوكي بس هاي فيها نيكوتين، لازم الواحد يكون عمره 18 سنة أو أكبر ليشتريهم. هالشي صحيح، بس نحن لازم نعرف إنه في مواقع على الإنترنت كتيرة ما بتحدد هالشي، وكتير من السهل على أي واحد يروح على هدول المواقع ويشتري أي سيجارة إلكترونية ويكون عمره أقل من 18 سنة. هالمواقع بس بيكون عندهم سكشن بس انتوا بتضغطوا عليه وبتقولوا انه انتوا عمركم اكثر من 18 سنه وما لازم تاكدوا هالشيء. فالشباب كتير بيستخدموا المواقع الالكترونيه ليشتروهم، وكمان بياخدوهم من رفقاتهم او من اخوات رفقاتهم الاكبر منهم او بيقولوا لهم ليشتروهم. هلا نحن عم نحكي كتير عن انه فينا نشتريهم من اي مكان وفينا ناخذهم من الانترنت، بس شو هي التكلفه؟ التكلفه كتير مختلفة. في سجاير سعرها $1 أو في سجاير بيصير سعرها لسعر $100. وكتير من الشباب بيشتغلوا أو بيكون عندهم مصروف، ففيهم يستخدموا هالمصاري ليشتروا هالسجاير المختلفة. طبعا مع الوقت وبس يصير في إدمان رح تشوفوا إنه إذا أولادكم عم تستخدموا هالشي رح يصير عندهم تكلفات أكتر أو عم بيضيعوا المصاري أكتر، وهالشي ممكن يخليكم تعرفوا إنه ممكن في استخدام للمواد المدمنة. So now that we've mentioned, use and maybe even getting addicted and how much they would be spending on it, well, how do we know? What signs can we look for other than, money disappearing or them spending a little bit more money? There are actually a few different signs. If you're not really noticing the coughs or the side effects, you should pay attention to their mood. They could be a little bit jittery. They could start having a hard time paying attention. Their ability to communicate would probably decrease. You're also going to notice fruity smells, minty smells, and you're not going to know where they're coming from. If you notice that, it could be an electronic cigarette. A lot of times they smell very similar to any air freshener, but they're not as long lasting as an air freshener. If their normal activity has decreased, so if they go to the gym or they play sports and that activity has decreased, that could be a sign. Again, the excessive spending of money or money disappearing, yes, it could be as little as $1, but over time, this amount will just grow. They like to spend a lot of time alone. They hide certain things. That could be a sign. Unknowing devices, and I'll show you a few of them today. Some of them just, they just look like a device, not sure what they are, but they could be an electronic cigarette. You could also start seeing sudden nosebleeds. This could be a big sign as well. So خلينا نشوف شو هي العلامات المختلفة اللي ممكن تقول لنا إنه الشباب عم يستخدموا هالمواد أو هالسجائر الإلكترونية. أول وحدة هي المزاج. مزاجهم ممكن يتغير بشكل يومي بسبب هالنيكوتين وبسبب هالسجائر. ممكن يصير عنده صعوبة بالتركيز، ممكن ما يتواصلوا مع الناس اللي حواليهم مثل قبل. ممكن يصير في روائح مختلفة بالبيت أو بالسيارة ما بتعرفوا من وين عم تجي. هالروائح ممكن بتصير من السجائر الإلكترونية. ممكن يصير عندهم انخفاض بالأنشطة العادية أو اليومية تبعهم. إذا هن دايما بيلعبوا رياضة أو دايما بيطلعوا من رفقاتهم بس ما عم بيعملوا هالشي، هاي ممكن تكون علامة. ممكن كمان يقضوا وقت كتير لحالهم أو بيخبوا أشياء مختلفة. كمان ممكن يشوفوا أجهزة غريبة بالبيت أو أجهزة منا معروفة، وهالأجهزة ممكن تكون سجائر إلكترونية. وكمان ممكن يصير عندهم نزيف بالأنف مفاجئ بشكل أكثر من قبل. So if this is the case, or if we are worried, how do we talk about vaping and e-cigarettes with our kids? The biggest hint or advice that I can give you is to ask open-ended questions. What I mean by an open-ended question is a question that cannot be answered with a simple yes or no. Sometimes it's okay to ask those, but let's have a follow-up question. And let me give you a few examples here. So one of the examples that I'm going to give you is actually a yes or no question, but you can follow it up with another one to kind of continue that conversation and get a little bit more out of your team. So an example is, are a lot of kids at your school vaping? Are any of your friends vaping? Again, this could be a yes or no question, but you can follow it up with, well, what do you think about that? What do you think about using vapes or electronic cigarettes? You can ask, what do you think is inside of them? Or, what do you think it can cause? What changes can it do to your health? Or even what effects does it have on your overall life? So all of these answers or all of these questions are going to require a little bit more than yes or no. And for whatever reason, if you don't know the answer or your child says, I really don't know, take the time to look it up with them, do a little bit more research, and just really have that open-ended conversation with them to make sure that they understand the risks and are also aware of what you think about these devices. So إذا نحن عم بنشك أو بنخاف على أولادنا ما بدنا إياهم يستخدموا هالسجاير، ممكن نحكي معهم على بهالموضوع. So أحسن شيء لنعمله إنه ممكن نسألهم أسئلة مفتوحة. شو معنات الأسئلة المفتوحة؟ معناته إنه السؤال ما بنقدر نجاوب عليه بإيه أو لا. لازم تكون جملنا أكبر أو جوابنا أكبر من الإيه ولا لا. وهلا رح أعطيكم كم مثل. ممكن تسألوا أولادكم إذا في شباب كتيرة بالمدرسة بتستخدم هالسجاير أو إذا رفقاتهم بيستخدموا هالسجاير. هلا أنا قلت ما لازم نسأل سؤال فيه إيه أو لا، بس هذا واحد منهم، وفينا نسأل سؤال تاني لنكمل النقاش. فينا نقول شو رأيكم بهالشي؟ شو رأيكم بالناس اللي بيستخدموا هالسجاير؟ وشو رأيكم بهالسجاير الجديدة؟ كمان ممكن تسألون إذا بيعرفوا شو بقلب هالسجاير، أو بيعرفوا شو هي الأعراض اللي بتصير عند الناس اللي بيستخدموها، أو كمان شو هي الأشياء اللي ممكن تأثر على حياتهم إذا استخدموا هالمواد المختلفة أو هالسجاير. إذا في أي واحد من هالأسئلة أنتم ما عرفتوا تجاوبوه أو أولادكم ما عرفوا جاوبوهم، فيكم من السهل إنه تطلعوا على الإنترنت أو تشوفوا شو هو الجواب مع أولادكم منشان هن يتعلموا أكثر ويعرفوا الخواطر الموجودة باستخدام هالسجاير. So now let's go ahead and take a look at a few other styles and things to pay attention for when it comes to electronic cigarettes. So here I'm wearing a watch. It looks like a smartwatch. It's actually an electronic watch, and I'll go ahead and show you how it works. So خلينا نطلع على كم شكل من هدول السجاير. أول واحد بدي أفرجيكم إياه هو هالساعة اللي لابستها أنا اليوم. هالساعة بتشبه الأبل واتش أو أي ساعة إلكترونية. إذا أنا شغلتها فينا نشوف الساعة والتاريخ وكمان قد إيه فيها شحن. So if I was to turn this on, all I could see is the time, the date, and also how much charge is in this watch. So this is an electronic watch and not a smartwatch. And actually, there's a button right here. If I click this button and take this out, we are going to find an electronic cigarette. Right here, this is the mouthpiece, and this is an electronic cigarette. So هاي الساعة إلكترونية ومنا ساعة مثل الأبل واتش أو السامسونج، وفيها زر هون إذا أنا دسته فيني طالعها، وهي هي سيجارة إلكترونية. So parents, pay attention to this. So if you see an electronic watch that is not branded and is not doing much other than showing our kids the time and the date, maybe it's good for us to kind of tell them, hey, let's look at your watch, let's see what it can do, just to kind of make sure that there's no hidden devices underneath it. So إذا بتشوفوا هالشيء أو بتشوفوا ساعات ما فيها براندز أو ما فيها علامات أو ما بتعمل شيء غير إنه تفرجي أولادنا الوقت والتاريخ، خلينا نشوف شو هي الأشياء الثانية اللي ممكن تعملها هالساعة. So now you're gonna say, well, this is a bit sophisticated. How is this under the $100 mark? I actually did look at the price of this, and this watch right here that looks very similar to an Apple Watch is $50, and it's actually on sale a lot of times. So yes, we might look at this and say, no, this is too sophisticated. It might be too expensive for our children to buy. It actually isn't. So please pay attention to these things. Please, know and look at the devices that are coming into your house. So هلا ممكن تقولوا إنه هاي سعرها كتير وممكن يكون أكتر من $100 وأولادنا ما رح يشتروا هالشي. بالعكس هاي سعرها $50 وكتير من الأحيان بتكون على السيل 25 أو 28. So إذا بتشوفوا هيك شي بالبيت تأكدوا إن هي ساعة إلكترونية وما فيها أجهزة خباية تحتها. So that is one example here. The pen was another. I can go ahead and show you a few more as well. Here's another one. This looks very similar to a USB drive, just a little bit bigger than the regular ones that we are used to. And this is also an electronic cigarette. So pay attention to those as well. You know, if you see it having parts where they can put it on, if they're charging it, that could be, you know, the biggest sign that we can pay attention to is just, you know, why do we need to charge a USB drive? We actually don't, unless it is an electronic cigarette. So هذا النوع تاني، هذا النوع بيشبه ال USB drives وفيه قطع فيهم يشيلوها. هذا الباتري الموجود بقلبها وممكن تتعبى بالسائل مثل غير السجاير. إذا بتشوفوا هل النوع من ال USB عم بينشحن أو أولادنا عم بيستخدموه بشكل كتير، اعرفوا إنه ممكن تطلعوا عليه وتشوفوا إذا هو صح إنه هو USB أو سيجارة إلكترونية. Other than that, we have things that look like lighters. So this looks like a lighter. Here would be a mouthpiece, and they can use it. I think this one is clear for us to be like, okay, well, why do you have a lighter? Why do you need a lighter? Especially if we commonly see lighters at home and we don't use them. That could be a sign for you to just kind of look at them and see if this is actually a lighter or not. So هاي بتشبه القداحة. شكلها شكل القداحة بس ما بتشتغل مثل القداحات، هي سيجارة إلكترونية. So إذا عم تشوفوا هيك شيء انتبهوا عليه واتأكدوا إنه هي قداحة ومنها سيجارة. بس حتى لو كانت قداحة عرفوا ليش ولادنا عم بيستخدموا هالشيء. There are kind of our bigger USB drives. This could also be an electronic cigarette. So mouthpiece and also rechargeable. So again, your biggest bet is to look at those devices that shouldn't be charged and are being charged. So هاي كمان بتشبه ال USB. كمان فيهم يشحنوها. So إذا بتشوفوا أجهزة غريبة عم تنشحن شوفوا ليه عم يشحنوهم وكثير من الأحيان رح تعرفوا إنه هي سيجارة إلكترونية. Now we have other ones that kind of look like it could be a whiteout. Some people did say that this looks like a whiteout, or it even looks like a keychain, but you know, without the chain part. But both of these are electronic cigarettes, and again, both of these can be charged. And these are kind of the smaller and more sleek devices that our children or our youth are more interested in. So هدول كمان نوعين من السجائر الإلكترونية فيهم يشحنوها. كمان حجمهم أصغر وفيهم يخبوها بطريقة أسهل. So again, try if you see something like this, see if you can open it somehow. If you do, you see something like this. This is where they fill it up with fluid or that nicotine. So this is your biggest sign that it is a electronic cigarette. And again, if you see something like this and it is being charged and it doesn't do anything, it could be an electronic cigarette. So إذا بتشوفوا أي شيء مثل هاي ما في شيء بيعمله، فيها زر هون بس ما بيعمل شيء، عم يشوفوها عم تنشحن، اسألوا ليه عم بيشحنوها أو شو هو سبب الشحن لهالأجهزة الصغيرة. There's also our disposable ones. This one looks like a cigarette, so if you were to see something like this, you know, it is a cigarette. I actually also want to show you the packaging of this one. It's very interesting. So it says no smoke, no odor, and no ash. There's actually a lot of smoke that comes out of this. There is odor, and the only thing that is true on the label here is the no ash. But again, it looks very similar to a regular cigarette. Produces a lot of smoke and it's just as dangerous. Actually, the container or the way that the smoke comes, which I can show it to you, the box says that it contains nicotine, which is very dangerous. So again, here's just a quick example of the misleading labels and signs that we see all over these devices. So هاي كمان نوع من أنواع السجائر الإلكترونية. هاي بتشبه السجائر العادية. So إذا شفناها نحن رح نعرف إنه هاي سيجارة. بس خلينا نشوف الباكس أو نشوف شو مكتوب على الباكس. هذا الباكس بيقول إنه ما في دخان، ما في ريحة، وكمان ما في رماد بيطلع من هالسيجارة. ما كل هالكلمات صحيحة. في دخان بيطلع منها السجاير وفي ريحة تطلع منها السيجارة بس الشيء الصحيح اللي حطوه إنه ما في رماد. بس إذا بتطلع على القطع اللي بيخلوها منشان يدخنوا هالسجاير، هالعلبة بتقول إنه في نيكوتين وهالنيكوتين بضر للصحة. هاي العلبة بتأكد إنه هي مضرة، بس هذا الباكس بيقول لا، ما في دخان وكمان ما في ريحة. وهالشي منه صحيح، بس إذا واحد شاف هالليبل راح يقول إنه هي صحية ومنيحة للاستخدام، بس هذا الشيء كمان مثل ما قلنا منه صحيح. I want to go ahead and show you 2 more here. This is kind of our tanks or mods, and these are the more traditional types. This is a very small traditional electronic cigarette, but they can come in bigger sizes. هاي نوع من أنواع التانكس والمودز، هاي من الأنواع الأساسية أو أول الأنواع اللي طلعت. وهاي هذا حجمه بيكون شوي صغير، بس في أحجام بتكون أكبر. هلا إذا شفتوا شيء مثل هاي kind of looks like a sharpener. إذا بتشوفوا قطعة غريبة معمولة من الحديد وما بتعمل شيء، هاي ممكن تكون قطعة من electronic cigarettes. You guys can see, you can find pieces like this. This belongs to electronic cigarette. This is the part where they fill with fluid. If you see something like this, it doesn't do anything and it doesn't belong to a device that you know. But, just take a deeper look. It could be something that can be used for an electronic cigarette. The biggest thing to look for in these things is the cotton that's inside of it. If you see here, there's a little bit of holes, and we can see cotton or cloth. This is really what absorbs the liquid. So if we see this could be your sign. إذا نحن عم نطلع على هاي القطعة اللي عندي إياها هون، رح نشوف قطع قماش أو قطن موجودة بقلبها. هالقطن والقماش هو اللي بيمسك هالسوائل الموجودة بقلب السجائر الإلكترونية. إذا بنشوف هالشي بقطع غريبة إلكترونية عنا بالبيت، هذا الشي ممكن يقلكن إنه هاي قطع للسجائر الإلكترونية. And the last thing I want to show you is how small a pod of Juul is. I don't have an actual Juul with me here today, but I have a small pod. This is a pod that I talked about in the beginning that has the same amount of nicotine as a whole pack of cigarettes. So again, this is very small, very easy to hide, and this is why it's really commonly used among youth. هلا رح برجيكم القطع اللي بتجي مع الجول. هلا ما عندي جول أنا اليوم، بس عندي هاي القطع اللي بيخلوها واللي فيها السائل تبع الجول. هذا السائل اللي حكينا عنه بالبداية وقلنا إنه قطعة صغيرة مثل هاي فيها كمية نيكوتين بتساوي الكمية الموجودة بعلبة كاملة من السجاير. مثل ما عم بتشوفوا كتير من هدول القطع ما رح تعرفوا بس تطلعوا عليهم إنه هن سجاير إلكترونية، بس لازم ننتبه على هالشي ولازم نتأكد إنه نحن عم بندقق على الأشياء ما عم بنطلع عليها بالبيت، وبنتأكد إنه ما في سجاير إلكترونية بالبيت، وبنبعد عن هالخطر عن أولادنا. So thank you all for listening along and joining our session today. I'm open to answering any questions. I hope that you found this helpful and found it as a way to kind of learn a little bit more about these devices and the danger behind them as well.
Wow, that was awesome, Omnia. You can still hear me, can't you?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, that was an amazing presentation, and I think this one we will need. I'm glad that it is saved and it will be published on our pages, Facebook pages and YouTube channels, because I think it's needed for a lot of parents to see, to share with each other, even to administrators at schools to actually be familiar with this. We have a lot of comments that are commending this program. Omnia, just a question. If a parent discovers that their child is having this issue, what do you recommend? What is the course of action for this parent?
Sure. The biggest thing that I want to mention when it comes to us finding out that our youth are using this is to start with education. So a lot of times our first response would be to get mad at them, to ground them, to take away their privileges. And yes, this is something that you might be able to do, but really focus on education. So talk to your children, have those open-ended conversation about why do you use this? Why do you think it's good? What are the dangers behind it? And making sure that they understand these things. And quite frankly, when they do, they're more likely to quit on their own instead of, being grounded or, being told that, they'll lose their privileges until they stop using these different devices. So for sure, start with education, educate yourself and your children about these devices. And if you don't find that helpful, then seeking help also be a good way to go about it.
Sorry, what did you say at the end?
Maybe even finding some help. So maybe reaching out to us or other therapists or other programs that might help with cessation and quitting from any tobacco use or any addictive substance use.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so if that doesn't work, is there some resources in the community that can help a parent deal with their child?
Yes, we are one of those resources. Detroit Wayne is another resource. There are a lot of quit lines as well that we or the community can reach out to and really get that help out.
So what would you do, for example, if a parent reaches out to you and seeks help in that?
So if a parent reached out to us specifically, we will provide them with resources and direct them to specific individuals and helplines that would guide them through the process.
Okay. Do you have a phone number that they can call in case they need help?
Sure, I can provide you with one. There is our 1-800-QUIT-NOW phone number, and that can be used to reach out and get into contact with help.
Okay. And LAHC's number?
I can give that to you as well. Give me 1 second.
I'm posting it in the comment section so parents have it.
Awesome. So if we are going to be reaching out to LAHC, you can call 888-315-5242.
5242.
And you can also reach out to us through our social medias as well.
Sure. Okay. Another last question, Omnia, because we're running out of time. As far as legal, liabilities, if a person, for example, sells a minor an e-cigarette, is that illegal and are they liable?
Yes, so that is illegal. As of consequences, usually those vendors do get ticketed in the beginning and then other more serious consequences do come on after. But it is illegal to sell to anyone who is under the age of 18. And there's actually a new law that's going to be in the process of being put in place, which is changing that age from 18 to 21, specifically because of the effects of nicotine and the effects that it has on the brain development, like we mentioned before. So this is not yet a Michigan law, but it has been implemented in a lot of other states. And it's definitely something that we will be seeing in the near future. But yes, anybody that sells tobacco products to minors does suffer consequences such as getting ticketed and other serious ones in the future.
Great. Even if they give it for free or they gift it, that's also illegal to provide it to a minor. Okay. And with that, thank you very much, Omnia, for joining us again. This hands-on, the closest we can get to hands-on.
Yes. We try our best. We think visual representation is the best, and just being hands-on and really seeing live examples are really the best way to stay educated and know about all of these. Thank you again for
awesome. Yeah, and we're going to see you one more time, right, before the end of the year for another presentation.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. I want to share with our parents that we have started podcasts for all the academies. So, for example, this program will be posted on the podcast next week, and you can listen to it while you're working out, walking, driving, through any, really, it's distributed widely through any podcast. All you have to go is search for HES Academies, or let's say your child goes to Star International Academy. You just search for Star International Academy podcast, Noor International Academy, Universal Learning Academy, Universal Academy, and you will find each school's specific podcast. Also, I want to share with you that the Universal Academy Student Government is running a campaign to collect clothes for Yemen, and they're accepting only new or like new items, jackets, pants, abayas, hijabs, dress shirts, baby clothes, socks only new, undergarments only new, shoes tied to pair, blankets, clean, folded, placed neatly in a package or a box, and dropped off Thursdays from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at Universal Academy parking lot. Designated boxes will be there. During that same time, we have meal pickup over there. So if you have any clothes that you'd like to donate to Yemen, please do so on Thursdays from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And these clothes go directly through Rahma organization to a warehouse in Yemen where people go and they shop and they get what they need. So one more thing is, in 4 minutes, the first virtual chess tournament will start at all HES Academies. So I wanted to share with you what do you see. Basically, when you log in, you're going to see the tournament on the side. Or if you click play now, you'll also see a choice to join the tournament of the club that you're a member of. So right now at Star International Academy, we have 5 players sitting and waiting. More people will join. Up to 4 p.m. exactly, the tournament will start. So just sit there and wait for the tournament to start. It will start sharply at 4. Remember, these games are timed for 15 minutes. So you have, if you waste time during the tournament, you will waste time from your game. ULA has also players on standby, waiting for the tournament to start. So as UA and NIA. So hopefully we'll see you in the tournaments, and good luck for all the participants. With that, we come to an end of our presentation, and we'll see you in the next Friday Family Engagement broadcast for HES Academies. Thank you again, Omnia, and thank you, LAHC, for always providing the community with great programs.
Thank you for having us.